What's good, y'all? Welcome back. Let me get this set up. I meant to put this video out a while ago. I've been having a lot more people ask me about how to get retainer clients, but I actually wanted to point out that retainer clients aren't really needed in the beginning. Like if you're just starting out, I wouldn't even focus on getting retainer clients. I would focus on business acumen, personal brand development, figuring out what niche you like. Like there's so many things that go into just having one client on a consistent basis that kind of take away from the learning experience of you kind of going out and doing different types of genres of jobs and projects. And I didn't actually get my first retainer client until about 3 years in full time, which would be 2 years ago now. And that's only because I started to see a trend in consistency of like vertical Instagram reels. So people would constantly reach out to me every week for stuff. And I was like, hey, you know what? How about I cut you a deal if you buy 10 at once? And then that's when my first retainer client was born. But as a beginner, you won't have the time, experience, or even sometimes the equipment. And I think it's mainly because as a beginner, you're focusing on so many different skill sets and growth. Like some of us, at least for me, I was still learning a lot of the ins and outs of just the camera I was using. Then I was spilling over into lighting. Then I was spilling over into audio. And when I was working with a different variety of projects, I was figuring out which one I liked the most. Tried out sports. I realized it wasn't really for me. Tried out weddings. I love the atmosphere. I love the paychecks, but the long days sometimes just kind of got away from me. Real estate was a little better because it was shorter and I was still getting paid. Instagram branding was useful for me because it was something I was doing. So I was used to the setup. I was used to the teardown. I was used to the editing style. It was already a part of my life. So finding retainer clients in that industry was super simple and easy for me to manage. So then that's what I was starting to do. But if you're a beginner, I really just think you should focus on building those things I mentioned before, especially your skill set. Like consistent skill set development is so important before you get retainer clients. There are certain things you should know before you even get in that mixture. Like for real estate, for example, I know what's important to real estate agents. I know what they're looking for in terms of lead gen. I know what they're looking for in terms of brand building. And when you just kind of reach for a retainer client and you don't have the back end knowledge of what that person needs for you so that they can be consistent and grow, you're going to damage your reputation, I think. Because not only are you just reaching for it for the money value, you're not even understanding the importance of why consistency is important to that client. Like for me, I was a personal trainer before I started doing all this. So having and seeing somebody on a consistent basis was normal for me. Not only normal, but I was able to plan their workouts so that I can see their growth. I was able to dial in their macros so I can see what they're eating and what may not be working. Like there were analytics on the back end, not just throwing them in a workout, making sure that they were sore, and then that's it. Like there is consistency in analytics, insights, and numbers behind a retainer client. It's not just somebody that you film all the time. It's somebody who has a goal in mind, which is why they're hiring you to film them constantly. And by the end of that set, if they're not any closer to their goal, they're going to be asking you some tough questions and you're going to want to know how to maneuver through those conversations. So yeah, there are expectations, there are pressures. And like I mentioned, as I was a trainer before, I was already working out. So it was important for me to look the part before I sold the package. So right now, right in this moment, if you were to look at your Instagram, if you were to look at any of your social medias or your website or anything like that, do you currently have a lifestyle, a brand, or any type of consistency that your clients can look at and want to emulate? If you don't, that's a huge part where you need to start. I'm a huge advocate on practice what you preach. It's not necessary for all content creators, but I can tell you right now, it has helped me sell my packages so much easier because a client can go to my page and see that I actually believe in content creation and helping brand development in all aspects of videography. It's not something I'm just trying to push on them. I do it for myself. And beyond the numbers, there's going to be pressures for you to turn around things quickly. So let's just put it out there. Let's say you have a retainer client and my retainer clients get priority. So if they book something and I have somebody else coming in trying to book something the same day, I always give it to a retainer, right? So let's say my retainer client books a Wednesday in the morning. Got it. This person wants to book Wednesday in the evening. Got it. If I feel that their project is easier, so I start theirs and it delays their project, they're going to hit me up with some, hey, I paid for faster turnaround time. What's up? Versus this person. And you're going to need to deal with and how to manage like your time in terms of editing, especially if you're not used to editing multiple projects in a day. I am, but in the beginning, I could see how it would like maybe give me a little anxiety if I had two people giving me pressure on, hey, whose project should I do first? My retainers always get priority. That's what they're paying me monthly for. On another reason you might not, moving into your portfolio, another reason you might not need a retainer right now is you should focus on diversifying your portfolio, meaning adding different elements in your portfolio from the jump. So yes, so early on, so I have a couple of examples of my like montage virtual brochures that I would always post. And they would just have a mixture of industries. You know, I would have fitness, I would have automotive, I'd have sports, I'd have beauty, I'd have modeling, real estate, of course, interviews. Like I would just mix it up just because I wouldn't know which person would watch it. And if I'm ever in a slow season in real estate, I know that I can always pivot into another industry. Real estate is my niche. This is what I'm comfortable with, I'm a professional with, and I know all the ins and outs. But if I had to do a birthday party, if I had to do sports, if I had to do something I just don't do all the time, but I'm still familiar with and I have the skill set and the equipment for, I'm good to go. It's not a completely foreign industry for me, so I can make it happen. So having a variety of different projects might serve you better in the long run, especially if this industry is slow and this industry is picking up. You can pivot and move however you see fit. If you're not familiar with like managing business aspects like contracts, just client relationships with payments, invoices, all those types of things are going to be useful for people who are paying retainers, because the ones that utilize me, they have CPAs, like they have a tax person. So they want everything organized. So the invoices need to be sent, the contracts need to be sent. Like there has to be a paper trail. They normally pay with their business credit cards, so you have to have some type of like online banking system for them to like swipe their card. That's why having a business bank account is good. Like these are things you want to have in place versus somebody who can just send you Apple Pay, Cash App, Zelle, and you're good to go. And also when it comes to retainers, yes, it's like a steady flow. It's a steady flow of income, but most times those contracts or those retainers are given at a discounted rate. So they're not paying you like, so if you charge $1,000 per project and somebody wants to buy 10 up front, you're not charging them $10,000. You might charge them $7,000 because you're discounting them for buying in bulk. Now on the smaller end, you might charge $125 a project. And if somebody wants 10, you're not going to charge $1,250. You might charge $1,000 or $900 because they're buying in bulk. And this is just an example. I'm not saying this is what you should charge, but when you're just starting out, it might be better for you financially to just go project by project, because you can charge just based on what's needed and not be locked in to this fixed price point. Like you always want to be able to move around and change things up if you have to. But the second something is written on a contract, the second you sign it and they sign it, that's it. There's no moving that goalpost. It is what it is. So if you're looking to get as much money as you can, sometimes just learning the business, like I said, the business acumen, getting those client relationships, and just working on your business, building your brand, project by project is going to work. And even right now, like there's some people who pay me a lot of money for events, and I don't even have them on retainer, but I see them like 3 or 4 times a month. And a retainer would work, but if they're comfortable not having a retainer with me, but still working with me consistently, I'm not going to say anything, because they're doing exactly what a retainer client would do, but they're just paying project by project. And some people are just comfortable with that. They're comfortable with, hey, I do want to see you every week. I just don't want to deal with a contract. You're going to deal with people like that, which is perfectly fine, but those people are still consistent. They're just not locked into anything with you. And I will say over this like past month, I've probably gotten maybe almost $3,000 from these people that I work with in the events. And it would have been a lot less if I would have locked them into a retainer. So in that aspect, I'm winning financially, and just knowing that I don't have to quickly turn around their events because they're not in a retainer contract with me puts an ease on me as well. So there are benefits of not doing it as well. So I don't want you guys to think that you just have to get a retainer like out of the jump. Sometimes it's really just not necessary right now. And there's so much more you can do when you don't have it. So right now, if you're a beginner, focus on the flexibility, focus on your growth, focus on like the overall experience when you're maneuvering through different projects, because that's going to serve you so much more than just having a retainer who's just consistent cash flow. Because believe, like 9 to 5s are consistent cash flows. You know what you're getting, you know the workflow, but you can't be miserable in those consistent pay basis. We all know that. So don't run to it. There's so much more that you can do. There's so much more that can serve you. So don't think that's the answer to your problems. But I hope this answered a lot of questions. I will get into how I sell retainer clients in the next video, but I just wanted to touch base on this because I'm being flooded with this, like, hey, can you teach me how to sell retainers? When I'm like, do you have any clients at all right now? Because if you don't, then that's where you need to start. But I'm gonna cover that in the next one. I appreciate you guys watching. Of course, like, share, comment, share the video with a friend, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.